All right, here we go with this week's Indie Interactive. I'm excited to be with you today, and this is Bree Noble. And let me just, Indie Interactive, that is what we are all about right now. I got to get myself a sign for sure instead of just writing it on my whiteboard. But this is all about helping independent musicians with all aspects of your career. And I love being able to do this with you live every week on Facebook. We are doing this every Wednesday at noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific. So put it on your calendar, join me live. This becomes a podcast after this. So if you're making comments and I'm talking to you, I'm calling you out on the podcast. It's really fun. I like to interact with everybody in the comments. So make sure that you comment on what's going on. Today, we are continuing our creating superfans theme, and we're going to be talking about how to create superfans by creating your compelling and captivating musician personality. And I talk a minute about what that means. But I want to say hi to a few people. Just jump in and say hi on here. I'd love to know who's here. Again, my name is Bree Noble. I think I didn't even mention that yet. I am the founder of Women. Okay, we're back. Sorry, we had an internet issue for some reason. But I am the founder of Women of Substance Radio and Podcast. That's the page I'm broadcasting from right now because I love to help female musicians promote their music. And also, I'm the founder of the Female Entrepreneur Musician, as well as being a course creator for many different courses on house concerts and goal setting and Facebook ads and everything helping independent musicians. So let me say hi to a few people over here in the comments while we're getting started. Totally great to see you, Cheryl. Lindsay, so glad you're here. I know you can only be here for 20 minutes. Thank you for showing up. Carlene, so happy to see you. Arisa, awesome. Arisa, I need to ask you exactly how you say your name, but it's such a beautiful name. So everybody else chime in the comments, but we're going to be talking about creating your captivating and compelling musician personality. So this is something that I really don't hear talked about much because I think as musicians, we just think, we need to focus on our music and we don't think about kind of the persona that we create as a musician. And it's actually extremely important, in some ways more important than your music, because without that, people might not ever get to hearing your music. So let me explain why, move back a little bit there, explain why it's important to create this compelling and captivating personality or character. And, a lot of times people have a different stage name and it helps them get into this character. But some of you obviously perform under your own name, that's fine. But if you can kind of think of stepping into this character as you go out there as a musician versus yourself in your regular life, it will help you. Because I know, for me, I obviously have a different character when I'm teaching you guys versus, when I'm making cinnamon rolls with my kids, or, when I'm leading worship at church, or, any of the different things that I do in my life. I have put on a little bit of a different persona, or I amplify certain things about my personality. And that's what you guys need to do to really connect with fans. So why create this? The number one reason, actually, before I get to that, I'm going to talk about what does it mean to have a captivating personality, then why we should create it, and then how you go about creating this, what kind of things you can do. So what do I mean by a captivating personality or character? One thing I mean is that you need to amplify everything about yourself that is unique. Obviously, we have a huge expanse of artists out there, right? There's plenty of artists in your genre. There's artists all over the place trying to make a name for themselves. And that doesn't mean that you can't find your audience. You absolutely can. But you need to stand out. And so I want you to think about ways that you can amplify the unique characteristics. And we're going to talk a little bit about that in a minute. What are those unique characteristics that you can amplify? Another thing that I mean is that you need to find a way for your audience to identify with you. So that is what is really going to captivate them and compel them to want to keep following you. So what kinds of things that do you have that you can use to get, identification, make them say, oh yeah, I get that, or that's like me, make them raise their hand and say, yeah, like that makes total sense to me, or I really identify with that. So one major thing you can do is to talk about your personal values or morale, your morals. That's something that everybody has, even a lack of values or morals is basically having values. And so, amplify that in what you do, in how you come across online, in what you talk about, in relation to your songs, and even, songs that you write. Most of the time we write songs that relate to some of our, values, things that are important to us. Another thing is you can talk about your philosophies of life, and that will really help people identify with you. Maybe you have a high value on education, or maybe you were a totally self-made person. You never went to school. You had English was your second language, and you pulled yourself up by your bootstraps in this country, or whatever country you're in, and you really made a name for yourself. That could be something that people could really identify with about you. Any kind of philosophy that you have on life in general is something that you could amplify. As well, talk about your experiences. People really identify with you when you talk about your experiences and share them in talk and song. So I know for me, one major thing I talked about, because a lot of my audience was moms, definitely talked about like funny stories about, me with my kids and things that happened, or really heartwarming stories, or me when I was a kid, my relationship with my mom, so depending on what kind of an audience you attract, you want to talk about experiences that will relate to them. So that is the main reason that you want to create this compelling personality, because you want them to identify with you and want to follow you because of that. And you want them to just really get what you're all about. So now let's talk about, what kinds of things that you can do and why you should do this. So first of all, we need to remember that we are not just musicians, we are entertainers. So we're not just sharing our music, people want to be entertained. And I talk about this all the time in relation to stage shows. What can you do on the stage that's going to entertain people, as well as, they're going to enjoy your music, but it needs to be like an all-in-one experience, not just sharing your music with them. Also, you want to give them a way to categorize you in their mind. So, and you may think, oh, well, I'm in a category all by myself, Well, no. I mean, categorizing in our mind helps us remember things. So, someone might say about me, oh, she's, I remember her. She's got a really inspiring story, and, she talks about being a mom, or, her songs are, very focused on like, when she pulled herself out of, health issues or whatever, whatever's with, maybe people identify you with like someone who's really Zen and loves yoga, or they identify with you, in a way that you're a hippie and you love to be, you love to be retro and 60s style, or, maybe you are a total, hipster and you're an indie hipster, and that kind of helps them categorize you. So don't feel like it's a bad thing to create a personality that allows you to be categorized in someone's mind, because when we categorize things in our mind, that allows us to remember things much better. So this is going to make you a lot more memorable. So I want to see in the chat, you guys, if you've thought about these things before in relation to your stage show or the way you come across online. Is there anything about yourself that you've tried to amplify or that you think is unique, that that has really served you well? I'd love to see that in the comments. I'm gonna, while you guys comment, I'm actually gonna take a sip of coffee. I hope you guys, you know, come to this every Wednesday and bring your coffee and hang out with me. Oh, still hot. And so we can really feel like we're interacting here. So let's see what people are saying in the comments here. Oh, great to see you, Tim. Great. Oh, great to see you, Beth. Awesome. So let's see if anyone has come up with anything unique about themselves that they like to share. So you don't, you're, so Beth, you're wondering how this help, or actually that was Tim. Tim, you're wondering how this helps you get super fans. Well, I can tell you that, and I'm going to share in a minute, like what kinds of things that you're going to want to share about yourself, and it will allow people to really feel connected to you. I mean, super fans are a lot more than just the music. I know that I follow artists because I like their music, but I also follow them because I love their values, I love what they stand for, I love the stories that they tell, I just love them. I feel like they're extremely authentic, and I'll get into that in a minute. Let's see. Yeah, oh, it works, Tim. Thanks, Arissa. Oops, sorry. Let's see. Hey, how's it going, Elle? Mom of 5. Yeah, I mean, I've had someone on my show that's like a mom of 12 or something, and I'm like, yeah, I would totally use that. I also have a friend that is very big on adoption, and she's adopted several children or had foster kids, and that's been a big thing that she's focused on and has really, you know, gotten people to notice her, remember her, and like what she's doing. You've not thought about this, Carlene. Well, you have so many things that you can do in relation to this. So keep watching what I'm going to show you that you can share. Let's see. So Cheryl, your sister and you perform as a duo. Yeah. It's so easy to just get up there and be quiet and not tell stories about yourself and just want to do your songs. But it is so much better when you can really share pieces of yourself. Yeah, banter. See, if you're on stage with someone else, as Cheryl is saying, if you can have banter, that is amazing. Or you can have banter with your audience. That will really, really increase their engagement. So if you can maybe talk about something about yourself, and then if you're in a close enough proximity, like house concerts, like we talked about last week, you can actually ask their opinion about things, ask them if they've had these similar experiences. So another thing about why you want to do this is because people come for the entertainment and the music, but they stay for the relationship. And I know that's been true with me, with musicians, as well as, you know, other personalities that I've followed online. I learn a lot from them, but I usually stay because I love the people that they are and what they stand for. And so I just want, as a side note, to say that it's a lot easier for people to unsubscribe or unfollow you if they just see you as, you know, another musician online. But if they feel like they have a relationship with you, it's much harder for them to click that unfollow or to click that unsubscribe button because they feel like they're cutting a tie. So keep that in mind. That is a really big reason to be developing this personality. So what can we share that we can show people or amplify these unique things about themselves, yourselves? So you need to be, and I love this statement that my friend Suzanne Yeda says, you need to be you, but louder. So that means be authentic, but find out all the things about yourself that are compelling and interesting, and then be louder about them, make them more prominent, you know, speak more freely about them. And these are a lot of times things that you think are very boring and mundane, but we will uncover those. And I'll talk in a minute about how we're going to uncover some of those things. So you want to figure out the kinds of things that are your signature style, maybe things you do automatically or things that you can develop. So I'm going to mention a few of these, and I'd love to have you guys comment in here if you have a particular thing that you've noticed is your signature style that you've tried to amplify, or if people have told you about. It's another thing is you can ask people, you know, what do you like that I do on stage that you notice that I do that's different from other people? So maybe you hold your mic differently or hold your mic stand differently. Maybe you have a certain move that you do, or you know, maybe you have certain sayings that you like to use on stage, and you know, people seem to identify with those, so use them more often. Maybe you have a particular vocal nuance. Like I had a friend who had a certain sound to her voice that was a little bit different, and you know, she said, well, I only had this sound every once in a while. I noticed it would come out, but then my vocal coach said, no, you want to take advantage of this. This part of your voice makes you sound different from everyone else. You want to amplify that. You want to use that as much as possible. Or maybe you have a certain way of playing your instrument. Maybe you have a certain kind of strumming style, or you know, something that makes you very unique in the way that you play. I mean, there was this one artist that was in one of the Women of Substance showcases, and I am telling you, she looked like she was making love to her keyboard. She was just like all over the thing. It was just, and it was amazing to watch. Amazing to watch. And that was her signature thing. And it really got her a lot of attention, because it was like she was one with her instrument during that time that she was playing it. So let me see if you guys have come up with anything that is kind of your signature thing. Hey, Deborah, how's it going? Let's see. Oh, absolutely. Survivor of breast cancer is a great thing that you can share. In as you said, depending on the audience, you know, if your audience is mostly men, they might not really identify with that. Obviously, if you're performing at any kind of a fundraiser, even if it's not necessarily for cancer, but any kind of fundraiser where they're helping raise money for a really important cause, that could be really, really great to talk about. Let's see if anybody's come up with I don't see anything of the signature moves yet, but put those down if you come up with any of them. I know for me, you know, one thing is that I'm classically trained, right? So when I do my normal singer-songwriter songs, I don't sing that way. I sing more singer-songwriter style. But because I am classically trained and I have that talent, I do try to throw in something into my show that shows off that talent. And that has made me memorable to people. Oh yeah, that's the girl that can sing a high B flat, or you know, that's the girl that can sing really, really low and then also sing high. So think about what that is for you. And what I was just talking with Deborah about is causes and beliefs. So, you know, are you a spiritual person? You know, do you have specific spiritual beliefs that you like to share? Do you, you know, have you experienced some really hard thing like breast cancer or drug addiction or homelessness or being, you know, a foster child, or, you know, anything like that? You can really amplify that, not in like a weird, you know, bad way, but in a way that will identify, because this is the way I see it. Everybody goes through trials and tribulations in life, and it may not be the exact trial that you've gone through, but they can identify with you in kind of tethering it to the thing that they understand. So I had a song that was about health problems, and I had many people that told me that really spoke to them about their depression. And I didn't, you know, write about depression in any way, but it really spoke to them in that way. So keep in mind that it's not like you have to be with people with the exact same issues or causes that you're promoting, but they can definitely tie that into something that makes sense for them. So as I said, spiritual stuff, if you're really into like yoga or meditation, or, maybe I just interviewed somebody that, for my podcast, who's into kind of like nerdy music. Like she does a lot of Comic-Con shows, and, so she's really into comics and, role-playing games and stuff like that, and that's the audience that she attracts, because those are the things that she really likes and she likes to write about and she can talk about. So, show that you care. That is another important thing. Like, this is not just about you putting your stuff out there. Show that you care about your audience. And how can you do that? Ask them questions. Ask them in your emails. Ask them online. Hey, what's your favorite song? I'd love to know. What kinds of things, would you like me to, put in my next crowdfunding campaign? Like, what kind of rewards would you like? What kind of merch would you love for me to create? Just ask them questions to tailor things to them, and that shows that you care. Also, giving away some things for free, just doing a fun, free online concert for all of your fans, that shows that you care. Don't always be blasting them with buy my music on iTunes, buy my music on Bandcamp, join my fan club. Like, you can do all of those things, but don't do that constantly. Mix it in with things that you're doing for your fans and showing that you care about them. Whoops. Okay, so next thing is you want to kind of create this continuous personal narration about yourself. So you want to reveal some personal details because you want to be authentic. You want to show them that you're a human being and that you have, as I said earlier, struggles and triumphs and, all the things that they go through. You're not just like this ethereal, like, musician on a pedestal. And, you may think like, oh, nobody puts me on a pedestal. If you're out there performing, somebody's putting you on a pedestal in their mind. And that's cool. Like, you should be on a pedestal for your talent, but it also helps to bring yourself down to earth for them and be on their level as a person. So, reveal things over time about your, personal story, whatever you feel comfortable sharing. I know for me, I've shared a lot of different things on different interviews, in my trainings with my students, on Facebook Lives, personal details about my life in my performances. And so, you want to create kind of this personal narrative of what things you're comfortable sharing about yourself. And then another thing is creating a community around your music. I have a few people that I work with that do a really great job with this. I'm going to call her out. I don't know if she's here, but Gianna Wessel is in the academy, and she creates a community, and she calls it the Dragon Clan. And I love that because it fits with her style of music, but she calls them dragons. And so they feel like they belong to a tribe. And that just really, number one, it's harder to unsubscribe again. If you feel like you're part of a tribe and people are counting on you and you belong to a group, that really makes them feel connected to you. And, so talk about them in that way. I mean, I have not yet come up with a name for people that, are in my tribe yet. But, hats off to her that she has. And I know other people that have done that as well. And it really helps to have a specific name for your tribe. But if you don't have that, that's okay. Then you can just say like my community, or, the community of people that love my music, or, however you want to say that. Just make them feel like they're part of something, that they're part of a movement in a way, especially if your music is based around a movement. So lastly, we want to tell stories, and stories are what get across all of these things that we're talking about. So I'd love to have you guys Put yes or stories in the comments here if you use stories in your performances or online when you do, Facebook Lives, or when you are putting stuff on social media. Do you use stories? Especially when you're performing, stories are so important. So just put in the comments here if you use story. And stories are they're so much better way to tell things that you want people to know. Instead of just saying, I grew up in a broken home. Instead, you can tell part of that story and really get them, on the emotional bandwagon of what you went through, instead of just saying, I'm from a broken home. That kind of sits flat, right? But if you talk about, I can still remember the day when, I got up in the morning and I looked in the backyard and my mom was outside in her house coat crying, and I never see my mom cry. And, I didn't know it was wrong. I was only 10, and, I was scared, and I didn't know, what was happening, and then I found out that blah, 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 just like set the stage and get them onto your, on that emotional ride with you. Instead of, my husband's an English professor, so he always tells his students, show, don't tell, and stories are a way that you can do that. So the reason I'm telling you all of this is because we're leading up to this idea of creating your personal narrative and using stories in order to really create super fans. And so I've created this training for you guys that I'm super excited about. It's called 5 Days to Your First or Next 100 Super Fans. And it's going to be really fun. It's going to be really interactive again like this. And it's going to help you figure out, what are these things that I can amplify in my character? What are these things that I can tell stories about? And we're going to have really actionable assignments on how to do this. And then we're also going to be helping you create your signature video or your welcome video for your social media, or however you want to use that for a crowdfunding campaign or whatever it is you're doing. We're going to be creating that during this kind of challenge training thing that I'm doing next week. So I'd love to have you guys join me for that. And in order to sign up for that, I do need you to sign up so you can get the assignments, you can be in our private group, and you'll get, the direct training and access to me to ask questions and everything. And I'm devoting all of my time next week to this, and I'm really excited about it. So you can just go to femmusician.com/superfans and sign up for this. And you'll get an entry email, and it will let you know how to get to our group, and you can get started. And we'll be kicking it off next Monday, April 24th. So I put it in the top of this post here. And again, it's femmusician.com, F as in female, E as in entrepreneur, musician.com/superfans. And I know many of you were in my last 5-day training I did back in December and January, and I just saw some amazing, amazing transformations, and people just really getting a lot done and learning a lot and making some serious headway in, creating their plan for what we were doing back then. And now our plan is, how are we going to create your irresistible personality and figure out what stories you can tell, and then create the video that you need to really, really connect you with your fans. So go to femmusician.com/superfans and sign up for that. I do want to go check and see. Looks like a lot of people are using stories. See, Arissa says not a lot. I bet you have a lot you can use, though. Let's see. Beth says I have to tell stories. Oh, cool. So she does traditional songs, and she tells stories about the people that originally performed those songs, which is really awesome. I love that take on it. Let's see. Perfect thing for me, Elle says. That's great. Wanda says, I'm in. Awesome. Let's see, who else? Did anyone else say anything about using stories? So Elle says stories, yes. Oh, I know Carlene uses stories. She's got a whole program based on stories. All right, so just a reminder, and I'm going to type it in here again, femmusician.com/superfans. That's how you sign up. There it is. Go sign up. We will kick it off. We'll be doing some pre-work in there beforehand, so the group is open, and you guys can go in and introduce yourselves and stuff, and we'll get some pre-work going on in there, and we will kick it off on Monday. We'll have a live stream. We'll have assignments, and these are not hard, you guys. These are not going to take that much time. It's simple assignments that will get you some serious momentum. Like, I'm not going to waste your time. I don't believe in busy work. So we're just doing assignments that are completely actionable, simple to do, but really get you thinking about things that you might not have thought about before that can really expand your horizons in your music career and how you share your music and yourself. So it's been great hanging out with you on Indie Interactive. Remember to come back next week, Wednesdays, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific, for Indie Interactive. I'm Bree Noble, and I will see you next week.